Imagine a single stretch of water, so narrow you could almost swim across it, yet so powerful that if it were blocked for just 1 week, the entire global economy would begin to collapse. Fuel prices would skyrocket overnight, factories would shut down, flights would be grounded, millions of lives would be thrown into chaos. This is not a movie. This is not fiction. This is the Strait of Hormuz, a 33-mile-wide choke point sitting between Iran and Oman that controls nearly 1/5 of all the oil on Earth. No war needs to be fought. No bombs need to be dropped. All it takes is closing this one door. Welcome to the most strategically important and most dangerously fragile piece of water on the planet. For more incredible videos like this, make sure you subscribe to Global Legends Studio right now and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Where is the Strait of Hormuz? To understand why Hormuz matters so deeply, you first need to understand where it is. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow waterway located at the mouth of the Persian Gulf, connecting it to the Gulf of Oman and ultimately to the Arabian Sea and the wider world. To the north lies Iran, to the south lies Oman and the United Arab Emirates. At its narrowest point, the strait measures just 33 kilometers, roughly 21 miles wide. But the actual navigable shipping lanes are even tighter. Tankers traveling in use a lane just 3 kilometers wide. Tankers traveling out use another lane equally narrow. A small buffer zone separates them. 3 kilometers. That is all that stands between the oil fields of the Middle East and the rest of the world. Surrounding this tiny corridor are some of the most politically volatile nations on Earth: Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain. Geography made Hormuz important. History made it critical. Here's a number that will stop you cold. Every single day, approximately 21 million barrels of oil pass through the Strait of Hormuz. That represents roughly 20 to 21% of all petroleum traded globally every day. To put that in perspective, that is more oil than the entire production output of the United States and Canada combined, flowing through a corridor barely wider than a small city. The countries that depend on this route are not small players. They include Japan, South Korea, China, India, Singapore, and most of Western Europe. Japan imports nearly 90% of its oil through Hormuz. South Korea, over 70%. India, more than 60%. China, the world's largest oil importer, sends hundreds of tankers through this strait every month. If Hormuz closes, even briefly, the world does not slow down gradually, it stops. A name from ancient history. The name Hormuz carries centuries of history within it. It derives from Hormuz Island, a small rust-colored island sitting just inside the strait, named after the ancient kingdom of Hormuz, a powerful medieval trading empire that dominated Persian Gulf commerce from the 10th to the 16th century. At its peak, the kingdom of Hormuz controlled trade routes connecting Arabia, Persia, India, East Africa, and China. It was one of the wealthiest kingdoms of the medieval world, a cosmopolitan hub of spices, silk, horses, and pearls. In 1507, the great Portuguese explorer Afonso de Albuquerque seized Hormuz Island, recognizing immediately that whoever controlled this strait controlled the trade of the known world. The Portuguese held it for over a century before being expelled by a combined Persian-British force in 1622. Even then, 500 years ago, the world's great powers understood the profound strategic value of this narrow strip of water. Nothing has changed. Of all the nations bordering the Strait of Hormuz, one holds the most dramatic power over it: Iran. Iran's coastline dominates the northern shore of the strait. Several of Iran's most important naval bases, including those at Bandar Abbas and on the Greater and Lesser Tum Islands, sit directly overlooking the shipping lanes. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, known as the IRGCN, patrols these waters aggressively, operating fleets of small, fast attack boats capable of swarming and harassing large commercial tankers. Iran has repeatedly threatened, in moments of geopolitical tension, to close the Strait of Hormuz entirely. In 2012, during escalating tensions over Iran's nuclear program, Iranian officials openly declared they could shut the strait as easily as drinking a glass of water. Whether true or not,
The threat sent oil prices surging globally within hours. The message to the world was unmistakable. We hold the key, and we know it. The tanker wars, when Hormuz became a battlefield. The danger of Hormuz is not purely theoretical. It has already been a battlefield. During the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s, the Strait became the site of what history calls the Tanker Wars, a brutal campaign of attacks on commercial shipping. Both Iran and Iraq targeted oil tankers belonging to neutral nations, attempting to strangle each other's oil revenues and internationalize the conflict. Between 1984 and 1988, over 500 commercial vessels were attacked in the Persian Gulf. Insurance rates for ships entering the strait soared by thousands of %. The United States eventually intervened, launching Operation Earnest Will in 1987, the largest naval convoy operation since World War II, escorting reflagged Kuwaiti tankers through the danger zone. American warships clashed directly with Iranian naval forces. Mines were laid, ships were struck, lives were lost. The strait had transformed from a trade route into a war zone. And the world watched, helpless, as its energy lifeline hung in the balance.
The tanker wars ended, but the tensions never truly died. In 2019, a wave of tanker attacks shook the world. Several oil tankers were struck by mysterious explosions or limpet mines near the strait. The United States and its allies blamed Iran. Iran denied involvement. Then came the seizures. Iran's Revolutionary Guard seized multiple foreign tankers, some at gunpoint, claiming violations of maritime law. British, South Korean, and other nations' vessels were held for weeks or months. In 2020, the assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani by a U.S. drone strike near Baghdad pushed the region to the very edge of open war. Iran vowed revenge. The U.S. military went on high alert. Tanker traffic through Hormuz slowed dramatically as shipping companies rerouted vessels out of fear. Then in 2023 and 2024, as the Israel-Gaza conflict intensified, the entire region erupted into a new web of proxy conflicts, drone attacks, and naval confrontations, with Hormuz once again sitting at the center of the world's anxiety. Every time a missile is fired in the Middle East, the world holds its breath and looks at Hormuz. The U.S. military presence, Guardian of the Gulf. The United States understands, perhaps better than any nation, that the free flow of oil through Hormuz is not just an economic issue, it is a national security issue. For decades, the U.S. Navy has maintained a powerful presence in the Persian Gulf and the waters around Hormuz. The U.S. Fifth Fleet, headquartered in Bahrain, is permanently stationed in the region with the sole mandate of keeping these waters open. American aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines, and maritime patrol aircraft operate continuously in and around the strait. The U.S. has also built a network of military alliances with Gulf states, the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, giving American forces access to air bases, ports, and intelligence networks throughout the region. The message Washington sends to Iran, quietly but unmistakably, is this: close Hormuz, and you will not just be fighting the market, you will be fighting us. Given how dangerous Hormuz is, the world has desperately tried to build escape routes around it. And some progress has been made. Saudi Arabia operates the East-West Pipeline, also known as the Petro Line, which carries oil from the eastern province all the way to the Red Sea port of Yanbu, bypassing the strait entirely. Its capacity, around 5 million barrels per day. The UAE built the Abu Dhabi crude oil pipeline, stretching 380 kilometers to the port of Fujairah on the Gulf of Oman, capable of moving 1.5 million barrels daily around Hormuz. These are significant achievements, but they are nowhere near enough. The strait currently handles 21 million barrels per day. Even with all bypass pipelines running at full capacity, over 14 million barrels would still have no alternative route. The world has built emergency exits, but the house still has only one front door. Economic impact: what closure would really mean. Let's be brutally honest about what closing the Strait of Hormuz would mean for the world. In the short term, within days, oil prices would likely double or triple.
Some analysts estimate prices could spike to $200 per barrel or beyond within a week of closure. Petrol and diesel prices at pumps worldwide would surge. Airlines with ground flights, trucking costs would explode. Food prices, dependent on fuel for transport and agricultural machinery, would rise sharply. In the medium term, weeks to months, global manufacturing would begin to break down. Factories dependent on petrochemical inputs would slow. Electricity generation in oil-dependent nations would become unreliable. Developing nations with fewer reserves, less financial flexibility, and higher dependence on imported fuel would suffer catastrophically. A global recession would not be a risk, it would be a certainty. The Strait of Hormuz is not just an oil route, it is the beating heart of the global economy. And without it, the patient goes into shock.
With the world increasingly shifting toward renewable energy, electric vehicles, and clean technology, a natural question arises. Will the Strait of Hormuz eventually lose its power? The honest answer, for now, is no. Despite enormous growth in solar, wind, and electric vehicles, the world still runs overwhelmingly on fossil fuels. Oil and natural gas account for over 55% of global energy consumption. The International Energy Agency projects that even by 2040, oil will remain a dominant energy source, meaning Hormuz will remain strategically critical for at least another 2 decades. However, the long arc of history does point toward change. As battery technology improves, as green hydrogen scales up, as solar costs continue to plummet, the grip of Hormuz on global civilization will gradually, slowly loosen. But that day is not today. Today, right now, the world's prosperity still flows through 33 miles of contested, dangerous, irreplaceable water. The 33 miles that rule the world. So here we are. A waterway barely wider than a small city, surrounded by nations in perpetual tension, patrolled by warships from a dozen countries, threatened, tested, and fought over for centuries. And yet every single day, tankers the size of skyscrapers glide through it quietly, carrying the fuel that keeps our lights on, our cars moving, our civilization alive. The Strait of Hormuz is a reminder of something profound. The modern world, for all its satellites and supercomputers, its artificial intelligence and space rockets, remains deeply, almost embarrassingly vulnerable. Vulnerable to geography, vulnerable to politics, vulnerable to the decisions made by a handful of nations surrounding 33 miles of water. Until the day comes when humanity truly breaks free of its dependence on fossil fuels, this narrow, ancient, contested strait will remain what it has always been. The most important 33 miles on Earth. If you gained any knowledge or inspiration from this video, please give it a like, drop a comment below with your thoughts, and share it with your friends and family who need to know about this. And for more powerful, eye-opening videos about the places, events, and forces that shape our world, make sure you subscribe to Global Legends Studio right now. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a single upload. See you in the next one. Stay informed, stay aware.